Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you so much for downloading the Faith Life Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Nathan, here with my co-host, Pastor Matt.
Hey, guys.
And again, we've got a few weeks in now. We've got that new jingle. Let us know what you think of it at podcast@dfchurch.com. That is podcast at dfchurch.com. And if you have not done so already, please take a minute, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you downloaded this. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, hit like, hit subscribe. Make sure you are, turning your notifications on so you never miss a new episode. And if you'd like, you can email us at podcast@dfchurch.com. That's podcast@dfchurch.com. And let us know what you think. Give us your thoughts, comment on the video, all of those things so that we can hear from you. We would love all of that. Now, Matthew.
What's up?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, man, that was loud. Merry
I'm
Christmas.
ready. I'm going. It's almost Christmas time.
I mean, it is Christmas time.
Well, no, Christmas doesn't start until...
Christmas time is
until
here.
you sing that song. But I want a hula hoop. Is that going to be one of your songs that you pick today? We will find out. But before we get into our main topic, talking about all things Christmas, first of all, let's dive into the news of the world. Like that little news sound?
Oh, that's what that was? Okay.
Let's hear the news with Kirk Buckbaum. I'm just, I'm here for it, dude.
You are here for something.
Okay, now here's the biggest story that I think we need to talk about. These drones that everybody's freaking out about.
Wait, what drones?
Yeah, what drones? I saw a video that was from Denver, and they're like, hey, the drones are here now, too. So... as a Christian,
is that how they
especially,
talked?
are we worried about this is like the demons coming for us all? Now, I got to tell you, I've been looking into this a lot because I'm like, well, what's going on? What do I think is happening? What are other people saying? And the responses are hilarious across the board. So the first thing I'll say, if for some reason you haven't heard about what we're talking about, in New Jersey specifically, there have been for about a month increasing sightings of all these drones happening. People are flying around. And what's weird is that the government's like, well, they're not ours. And so I was like, well, then who are they? But then the government's like, but we know they're not a threat. So it's like, well, if we don't know what they are, but we know they're not a threat. Well, so if you don't know what they are, how do you know they're not a threat? That's the first weird thing. And now everywhere people are now posting videos.
Yeah. If they're not a threat, here's my question.
Yeah.
Why did they do a 4-hour closure of all airspace around the Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, if none of these are a threat?
That's a great question.
Huh.
So this is where it just gets, okay, you can have a whole range of conspiracy theories. So the first thing I think, I feel like because these are now a thing, people are seeing things like airplanes, helicopters, other drones all around the world. Right. And I think that's where the vast majority of these like worldwide or even nationwide sightings are. Right. They're probably people just kind of caught up in it and be like, oh, I think that's one too.
Right. It's when you hear a conspiracy or you hear something, you're always looking for evidence for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we can dismiss a lot of them. I don't think
the last I heard there was 100 of the 5,000 reports that were worthy of investigation.
Sure. The other thing is that some people are showing these like weird orbs and they're like, don't worry about the drones. What about these weird orbs that are flying around? They're like these glowing, like the wheels within wheels from Ezekiel orbs flying around.
Oh, that's cool.
Now that's cool, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
So I want to tell you the first theory that I heard. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Woo. That made me laugh the most. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the comments were, don't worry about the drones because what you have to worry about are the plasmoids. And I thought, what's a plasmoid?
That reminds me of the old Domino's character.
The Noid. He was awesome.
The Noid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is his cousin, Plasmoid.
Plasmoid. I love the Noid. He had an NES game that was really weird. There was like magic and pizza eating contest. It was really fun. All right, so I was like, okay, what's a plasmoid? Yeah. Because people are like, the plasmoids have escaped from the lab that the U.S. created them in.
The plasmoids
The
have
plasmoids.
escaped.
And so I look up plasmoid. Well, we can go, first of all, to Wikipedia, which is always great. A plasmoid is a coherent structure of plasma and magnetic fields. Plasmoids have been proposed to explain natural phenomena such as ball lightning, magnetic bubbles in the magnetosphere, and objects in cometary tails.
Magneto is in like X-Men?
Yes, the magnetosphere. So basically, plasmoids are produced in the laboratory, include field reverse configurations, spheromax, and intense plasma focuses. All right, so this big scientific stuff, it's like the fourth type of matter is plasma, and like the sun is a big ball of plasma, and it ejects like solar flares contain a plasmoid, which is just an energy field.
Also known as coronal mass ejections.
Yeah. Perfect. And so from what I
know
could
a little
tell,
science.
From what I could tell,
though.
a plasmoid would just be like an electromagnetic field containing plasma. Okay, so if there's a lab doing research on these as like an energy source option or something like that, cool, that would make sense. Okay, so the first part of the conspiracy theory could check out that there are plasmoids. Now, but what, then I kept reading the comments and they're like, these are sentient beings that can change shape and have escaped. And so the drones are monitoring them to get them to come back to the lab, and they're trying to communicate with us. And I thought, what? Where is that coming from? So then it gets better. You ready for this? I was doing more research. I was looking up plasmoids, that term, and I was trying to figure out anything in all this scientific stuff about the plasma from the sun and energy sources. Then I found this definition. I'm not going to tell you where it's from yet. It says this: plasmoids are amorphous beings with no typical shape. In the presence of other folk, they often adopt a similar shape, but there's little chance of mistaking a plasmoid for anything else. They consume food by osmosis like an amoeba does. And so this, I was like, whoa, okay. That's what maybe these people are talking about. Yeah, this is a character, like a monster sheet from D&D. And so my going theory at this point is that somebody somewhere read the D&D description of a plasmoid without knowing it was from D&D.
Right.
And assumed, then somebody else said plasmoid. That's what these orbs are.
Do you remember last week? I think it was last week when I almost spit my coffee out because you said, speaking of dumb people, well, I'm reminded of that again. Yeah.
And so
could these plasmoids actually just be caused by the sun?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they would dissipate upon coming to Earth. But then, okay, so if that's what these spheres are, and why would we send out drones to just look at them? That doesn't make sense.
These drones are actually plasma vacuums.
Oh, So,
but they have to be careful not to vacuum up non-plasma materials. So that's why there's so many, and they haven't really done much yet.
Okay. Yeah, I really just love the idea that this big conspiracy all stems from somebody misreading a D&D site and applying it to reality. I hope that's where that conspiracy theory started. Now, going in the opposite end of the spectrum, like what could really be going on here? A couple of other interesting things to note. FAA regulations require a red light and a green light on specific sides of a drone so that you can always tell the orientation of the drone, and that they maintain like a certain flight altitude of everything. All of these drones have those lights and are maintaining that altitude. So wherever they're from, they're doing a really good job at complying with all of our legal
the FAA rules that you regulations. Have to follow. Yeah.
So that's already interesting.
Yeah. My favorite explanation was someone from the government said, well, about a year ago, we changed the regulations for drones and what they're allowed to do. So this is just a result of more people having drones and flying them.
These are
that was a year ago. Why
now?
Reports a year
and
ago?
These are like bus sized, some of them.
Bus?
Yeah.
Like school bus.
Like no, but like a
City
minivan.
Bus? A minivan. That's smaller than a bus by,
okay,
I don't know,
sorry.
A bus is 50
Minibus.
seats, a minivan's like 7 or 8.
Minibus. These are large
like a 15
sized.
seater.
These are large sized.
I need an exact amount.
How many people fit in these drones?
Yes.
None.
So what if these aren't actually drones and they're like small planes? And
well,
people
because
are just
they
flying?
hover and stuff like that.
Small helicopters.
Possibly, but why would there be so many of them?
I'm sorry. There's drones the size of a bus
Yeah,
that
apparently.
are just hovering around.
Yeah, that's why everyone's freaking out because the military's like, well, they're not ours. So here's some of the other
Well, they're not ours.
the other theories. One of them is that it's NASA
Okay.
because they have some sort of drone laboratory thing, and that this is testing for when they send autonomous drones to other planets. But if that was the case, why wouldn't they just say it? Like, oh, yeah,
Right.
we're testing our NASA drones. Duh.
Right.
Another theory is that it's not military, but it's military contractors, and it's more classified testing. And in this scenario, it would be like back when, and so they would deny it because it's so classified. And it would be like back when they tested the stealth bomber. When they were testing and building our stealth bomber here in America, people saw it. People got
Right.
pictures of it. Nobody knew what it was. And the
They
military just
questioned it.
denied
Yep.
any knowledge of what it was as well. And this is where a lot of older UFO stories come from because they were testing it. They just didn't want to say they were testing something classified yet.
Right.
That's possible, which is why the government is denying it, but also saying we know it's not
We're
a
not
threat
investigating. Yeah.
because we'd want to test our stuff here before we send it out over to some other country.
Right.
Another plausible thing that I've heard, and this one gets a little scarier, is that drones are able to be equipped with things that can search for specific types of materials, like radioactive things like that. And so then this theory would range from the minimal, which is like a small amount of nuclear material went missing from a train. I've seen this one floating around. And so they're trying to recover that. It's not enough to do anything serious with, but it is material that is just kind of lost, like it fell off a train or something and they just can't find it. Okay, that's one. The scarier option would be right where New Jersey has a major port, and the amount of nuclear bombs that have gotten missing from like Russia, Ukraine, and things like that would be some sort of person has smuggled in a nuke. The U.S. Intelligence got word of that. They somehow heard, oh yeah, a nuke got in and we missed it. Yeah. And so now they're searching for it before whoever has it set it off. That would be the scariest one.
If it was specifically government doing this, because of something like that in New Jersey, there are like 12 big cities in New Jersey that just ban the use of all drones. The FAA banned the use of drones in several cities in New Jersey.
Interesting.
And so you would think that if it was the government, they would tell the FAA, because they're in cahoots as government agencies, hey, let's not ban them because we have this work to do.
Right. Well, I would imagine if it is something serious, like an actual nuke has gotten smuggled in, they don't want to start a panic. So they would just not say that that's what they're doing.
Continue to act as if.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe they found it already and they're going to.
Well, then the drones would stop, maybe.
Well, you don't want to do that because then that's just going to escalate all the conspiracies.
But they just all disappear overnight.
Uh-huh.
So now they're just flying for fun.
Yeah. So here's my question about drones. And I should know the answer to this because we have one here and I had to read all the rules and regulations about it.
Okay.
But from the other side of drones, what is my right as far as like my privacy and if I can throw a rock at, shoot down? I know you can't,
you can't like with a gun
shoot it with a gun within city limits because there's firearm discharge laws here.
But like bow and arrow.
Yeah. Am I allowed to destroy a drone if it's flying over my house?
If it's over well, here's the thing. I don't think there was a lawsuit about this, like Walmart or somebody was testing out delivery drones and somebody knocked it down. And I think they ruled that the air above your house is not your property.
Right.
So no, if it was in your front lawn, maybe.
Like if it touched
like
down.
if it was really close. Yeah.
What if it was
like
below
up to
my
your
roof line?
Yeah. I think maybe up to your roof line. Drone stands for Dynamic Remote Operated Navigational Equipment.
Yeah,
it doesn't really.
Everyone knew that.
But wouldn't that be funny if it was really an acronym? It's not.
It should be though.
It should be. So pulling it all back. All right, people are freaking out. Now we're seeing everywhere. It's kind of showing the susceptibility of crowds kind of catching on to this hysteria and now seeing things everywhere, and it just kind of is building. Step it all back from a Christian as again, our hope, our goal, our purpose with this podcast is how do we as Christians navigate our world? Well, this is what's in our world right now. That's why we talk through the news. What should our response to all this drone nonsense be?
So maybe it's just because they're so far removed from where we live.
Except for I saw them in Denver.
I mean, you flew one last week.
Not the size of a bus.
See, I want to know what evidence, because I was, while you're talking about
You're
them,
looking up.
I looked up all the pictures of these sightings.
Yeah.
They could be 3 inches.
No, not if you can see them from the ground.
These pictures are super
I
grainy.
know.
And
We don't
it's just
have
like
good
black sky behind
We don't
it.
have
I
good
don't know.
pictures of them. It's true.
Yeah. So I'm not as like, I'm not concerned about it. I think an initial response is those who are living in fear for it. Right. We can talk about that and your response to fear and things that scare you. And so I think part of our response would be pray for comfort for those people. And I think pray for peace, because this does have the potential, if it is other countries spying, if it's our country doing stuff, whatever it is, it has the potential to lead towards future conflict. So we pray for peace in the midst of it. It does seem strange, but I don't think we need to have a huge reaction to anything that seems strange.
Yeah.
And that's not just as a Christian, that's just as a person.
human.
Yeah, it's hard to live with that type of anxiety all the time, I would think, where every possible little thing you're thinking through all the possible detrimental options.
A lot of our society lives in like anxiety over this stuff, and it's unfortunate. Yeah, they're only flying really at night, which also then makes it hard to get good pictures of.
Right. Yeah, it's just like a black sky behind it. So
Right.
like there's no size relative comparison. I don't know. I don't think, at least for me today, I'm not at the point where there's any sort of grave concern, any sort of major like response that as a Christian I have to take in the midst of this. Right now, I just think it's funny. I could be totally wrong though.
It's just funny right now. Hopefully it doesn't turn
Hopefully
into
it stays
something
funny.
scary.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Awesome. Well, if you're at home, let us know. Podcast at dfchurch.com. Do you have a drone? Are you going to fly it around just to mess with people? Maybe. And actually, I think probably when we go back to that, like people seeing them everywhere else, I'd imagine there's a lot of people just flying them now to mess with people.
Oh, 100%.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
See what kind of see if your drone can make it on the news.
Dude, that would be cool.
Yeah. One more quick piece of news.
Yeah.
In response to the Willow conversation that we had last week with that quantum chip,
Yes.
Bitcoin made a statement saying it would need over 300 days of downtime to adequately defend itself from the imminent threat of quantum computing. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, quantum computing, if it becomes mainstream, can destroy cryptocurrency and scarily almost all encryption that we have. So like your phone is encrypted and your websites are all encrypted, and they have very high levels of encryption where if that raw data got obtained by somebody, it would be unreadable and very difficult to decode.
So as cool as quantum computing is, it's also incredibly risky and dangerous and a potential threat depending on who uses it.
I would imagine it would be the kind of thing where now everybody would need to start adopting it, because then you use the quantum computers to do the encryption. Right. And now it's back to being impossible to decrypt.
Right. That makes sense.
But I don't know that for a fact. I would just think that would be doable. Quantum computers right now as well. Like I was doing a little bit more reading and research on that. Like the problem that it was solved so fast versus how long a traditional computer would take is specifically a quantum computing benchmark problem. It's not like this is a real calculation that we do in the real world to get some result. It's something that essentially is created to test how fast a quantum computer is. Right. So it's not very useful yet. It's now what can we do going forward with it? Kind of cool though.
It is fun.
Also, I did some more research. The thing about the multiple realities thing seems like it's total just that guy making stuff up because
I would assume that multiple realities or the multiverse or whatever is made up.
Yeah, it's not like it's using computing power from another reality to solve the problem faster. That just seems
as
like
fun as that might be.
Well, yeah, but then if you're in that reality, does your computer not work as good because its power is coming into ours to solve
It's like a
things?
virus on your computer. Yeah. That's unfortunate for them. Good thing we're not in that reality.
Maybe we are, and that's why our computers take so long.
Oh, man.
All our computing power is going to 273B and helping do their computer
Are we 616?
Yeah.
Okay. We're the original, the OG.
Why would 616, though? Why is that original? Because it's not the first number. Yeah. Think about that, Matt. A computer plague. Our producer in the room, Alexis, says computer plague. What would distinguish a computer virus from a computer plague?
I don't know.
Or is it like the plague is the description of what happened to your computer? Like if I got
this
the
virus
plague,
gave my computer the plague.
Right. Well, if I get the plague, it's from a virus. Like in my life, if I were to be like, oh, I've got the bubonic plague, that comes from a virus.
From virus
right?
40167B3.
Oh, speaking of viruses, did you hear we've had the first severe case of bird flu just reported in the United States?
In a human?
In a human.
Okay.
It's H4N1,
Yeah,
I think
H4N1.
is this one. And we have not yet had human-to-human transmission that's been reported. So this person got it from a bird. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing with the bird. It was their little pet, maybe, and it got the flu, and they tucked it into a little bed and put a little thermometer in its mouth. They're like, it's okay, little ducky. But then they got the flu from it, and now they're severely ill.
That's a story right there.
Now, don't quote me on any of that.
We
I don't
report
know.
nothing but the news here, friends.
I don't know if that's really how this person got the bird flu, but what the next question is, are you ready for pandemic 2.0?
I mean, we were getting the bird flu in 2009 here. In humans.
It didn't.
H1N1, right?
Yep.
Yep.
There was a swine flu one.
I got it.
You got bird flu?
Yeah.
How? This is when it went to human.
Yeah. It
Well,
was in a
you didn't
plane.
get it from a duck.
I did not get it from a duck. I got
Okay.
it from a person sitting on the plane next to me.
That's every time.
Every single time.
All right. So, if this jumps to full-blown pandemic, do you think we'll have a different response from people?
Than we did with like COVID?
With COVID, yeah.
Yes.
Even if it hits pandemic levels.
I think no matter what side of the COVID conversation you were on, you want a different response.
Okay. What would you like to see happen? Do you think we'll have any shutdowns?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think people would do it.
You don't think people would shut down?
Mm-mm.
Work remote again?
I don't think they
or
would.
will it be not like a mandatory, but a recommended?
Yeah, and
Right.
maybe some businesses will then say, all right, work from home
All
if
right,
you want.
Google, go back
But
to
like,
working
I don't think
remotely
schools will shut down again. I don't think they'll make churches shut down again. I
Elon
don't think
Musk
they'll do
is
mask
anti
mandates.
remote work. So
A lot of businesses are because they have seen noticeable jobs inefficiency. So you're just not getting as much done when you're at home because after an hour you're like, all right, I'm good.
Right.
I've got my stuff done.
Which is interesting because I know some people at their place of employment, when they're there in person, sometimes productivity goes down because there's more shooting the breeze that happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wish.
Some people.
Speaking of, I wish we talked about this already. I wish we could shoot the breeze.
Right.
The
And,
wind
like,
was
literally
so
stop
loud
the
last
wind.
night. It kept us all up.
So I have 3 little deer in my front yard. They're fake, not real.
Oh, okay.
2 of them were on the floor this morning,
Yeah.
just like dead.
Oh.
On
On the floor? Like
on
the
grass,
ground?
Sorry, on the grass. My neighbor across the street has this like huge 6-foot tall deer. He's dead. Yeah. Dead deer.
Was he ever alive?
So we can start cooking him now.
No.
Deer flu 2.0.
I love deer flu. Is deer flu a thing yet?
Here's a question.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Why is it called bird flu? Because it's spreading amongst cows too right now. Like, why isn't it just called
Well,
flu?
one of them we had because it originates in birds.
All right.
And then because even when a human gets it, they say you've got bird flu. It's not called human flu.
Oh, this one's H5N1.
Wait, we're up to H5?
This is the 5.
Good job, guys. We did it. So
what's next, Nathan?
Let's move out of the news. Although, let me know if another bird flu pandemic starts. Not another, because we haven't had a bird flu pandemic. We had a COVID pandemic. If bird flu goes nuclear, what would you do? Email us, podcast@dfchurch.com.
If bird flu goes nuclear, that's a whole different thing.
Nuclear bird flu. That's so cool. It's like the birds start actually like doing little miniature nuclear explosions. I love it. Okay. Moving on, because Matt's giving me the move on
I
signal.
didn't give you the move on signal. Your wife in the room gave you the move on signal. I just shook my head in disappointment.
Oh, see, I only saw that one. I thought that was the move on signal.
No, while I was doing this, Lex was doing this. For those
You know
of you
what?
just listening, I shook my head side to side for me, and then for Lex, it was like the waving of the finger in big circles.
It's almost Christmas. We have had some very serious topics lately. You know, we've talked about like how to not fight at Christmas.
Can
We've
I
talked
lose my
about
salvation?
Losing salvation. I think it's okay to have fun as well.
Let's do it. So speaking of fun,
Speaking of
Nathan,
fun,
in your family,
yeah.
what is one of your favorite Christmas traditions?
Oh boy. Oh boy. So when I was a kid, when I think Christmas traditions, I first go back to thinking of as a
didn't
kid.
say your old family.
And then now
Your now
what
family.
have we brought over as adults? So like when I was a kid, they were pretty strict about it. We were not allowed to go downstairs and see the tree and the presents and all that stuff until my parents said we could. Like we had to stay upstairs and we would just be like bouncing off the walls like, we want to go downstairs. My parents would be like, no, you can't go down yet. And then, so we would have stockings where they'd fill it with like little, bits and bobs.
Where, Santa
crud.
would come. You got to be
Right.
careful.
And so
We might
those
have
were
young
by our
listeners.
rooms on Christmas Eve. Those were by our rooms. So I'd wake up in the morning and that would be there. I could get into that.
Okay.
And that would tide us
So
over.
Santa doesn't keep the stockings hung on the mantle. He puts them outside your room.
Right.
Gotcha.
He takes them off the mantle and puts them by our room. Santa. And so we'd have those, and then my parents would go downstairs, and then inevitably we'd hear a ho, ho, ho. And my parents would be like, wow, this is so great down here. Man, you guys should see this. And we wouldn't be allowed to come down yet. So we'd be going, I want to see it. And they'd be like, this is crazy. I can't believe, because they'd want to get coffee and they'd want to set up a camera and they'd want to get ready, and they like to just draw it out.
This brings up an interesting question, Nathan. And I don't know if we talked about this last year when we did like or 2 years ago when we did some of like the origins of our Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
And are they pagan?
Yeah. They're not, by the way.
As Christians,
Okay.
that level of Santa Claus, is that okay? I don't know if that's the topic we want to attack today, but
So
I mean, it just
it's
brings
an
up this
interesting
point.
thing, and I've had other people I've known say we're not telling our kids about Santa, and we're not presenting anything about Santa because we don't want them to say, if they find out Santa is real, well, if you lied to me about that, did you lie to me about God?
Right.
Now, personally, for me, I was told that Santa was real. And when I found out he wasn't, it never once crossed my mind that, well, so they're lying about everything else. It made me think, oh, that was a fun Christmas thing. But everything else, like it's a different category. It's not like it's the same category.
What's interesting is a lot of families who are against the magic of Harry Potter or even Lord of the Rings or other things like that are for the magic of Santa Claus.
Really?
And so it brings an interesting like dynamic. Or they're against the magic of D&D, but they're for the magic of Santa Claus. Because Santa Claus, there's no way in reality, like unless magic was used, there's no way what he does can actually
doesn't
happen.
he have elves at his workshop?
Right. Yeah. So there's that flying reindeer and all sorts of things, right? So there's a lot of magic behind it. It just brings up an interesting, why is that
one's
whimsical
okay.
magic okay, but others aren't?
Right.
And I know people have their reasons, and I'm totally down with that. But I was thinking about it as you were sharing, like you would hear ho 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 in the morning.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
No,
kind
it was
of weird,
a
but
level of
it's fun.
Santa.
Yeah.
Santa-ing.
Okay, so there's some of your traditions as a kid.
Which, on a... So, what did we tell our... So, Alexis in the room has said, hey, tell them what we have told. So, moving into our families now, Christmas traditions. So, we don't make them wait. They can come down. We don't let them start opening everything until everybody's out and we're ready. And we don't... It's not a free-for-all. It's not a frenzy. We take turns and we're calm and cool and collected as much as we can be on Christmas morning. No, the kids are pretty excited.
I was like, I feel like I know your kids.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
they
not
get
sure
pretty
cool
excited.
and collected on Christmas morning is
it's
how.
okay. It's all right.
It's not chaotic bouncing off the walls.
It's controlled chaos. And then
Middle school ministry.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's we have a Christmas casserole thing that we bake in the morning and we have fun and then we go.
What makes a Christmas casserole, not just a casserole on Christmas Day?
We only do it on Christmas, so it's a Christmas casserole.
Perfect.
I got you. It has cranberries in it. I don't know. It doesn't. And they have a calendar that they have a candy cane on it each day up till Christmas Eve, and there's a little bell. And so each day they unwrap it and pull a candy cane off.
Gross.
And then they
Too much
candy cane, and then they ring the bell on Christmas.
So it's like an
Eve.
advent calendar.
It's like an advent calendar, candy cane.
Which advent calendar is a funny word that we use for chocolate, like little cruddy chocolate.
Or bourbon,
like, why do we use the
or
word
chocolate,
advent for that?
or Legos.
Anyway.
And then so Lex says, "What do we tell them about Santa?" Honestly, I don't remember what we've told them about Santa. I'm assuming we said he was a real person, based off a real person,
right?
And that is why we give gifts and we think about Santa in that way, right? He did what he did, and we point it back to Jesus. The real Saint Nicholas, who wasn't Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas of Myrna, was also known for punching somebody in the face at
as all good saints are known for,
at the Council of Nicaea, when they were debating on if Jesus was really God, and some guy was like, "Nope, Jesus isn't God," and Saint Nick got so mad he punched the guy in the face.
Yeah. Interesting. A firm fist for your faith.
Yes.
On your face.
Firm fist on your faith for faith.
On your face for faith.
Faith for
so we do kind of the Santa Claus as the jolly, red-suited, flying reindeer guy.
Okay.
We always have told our kids that he's a character, that's a character, much like Mickey Mouse is a character. It's fun. We can pretend. We can do make-believe. That's awesome. But we also share the story of Saint Nick. One of the books we have in our Christmas books is this big one that's actually like kind of like a biography of Saint Nicholas himself and kind of where those traditions came from, who he actually was, and again pointing it back to Jesus, which is awesome. But I've always been in the camp where I work hard for my money. And I want my kids to know that their mom and dad have chosen this specifically for them because we love them, not because some fat guy in a red suit loves them, who sees you when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake, which is really creepy, by the way.
Santa's like omniscient.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, I like it. It brings up an interesting thing that I've always said this, and I'm not the only one I've seen this. Other people have made this observation. When you talk about Santa, what's really funny when we get into like Christmas movies, where Santa exists in the world of this movie, and like I'm thinking of like the Santa Claus or things like that, and Santa delivers presents, but there's always parents who like Santa is not real. Which makes you wonder, where do they think these presents are coming from then?
Right.
What is in their minds, presents have appeared, but Santa doesn't exist, but nobody bought these presents.
I have always struggled with that one.
It never makes sense.
By struggle, I mean just question and thought it was dumb.
It is dumb.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And this takes me, we're going to go a little bit out of order to one of our listener emails that we got. And it's the subject of this one says, what makes a Christmas movie? Because I believe we were talking briefly about Christmas movies.
Right. It was the whole Die Hard
Christmas movie. And it says multiple references to the birth of Jesus, not baby Jesus. So Talladega Nights is not a Christmas movie, or multiple ho, ho, ho Santas. Thoughts?
Wait, so in order for it to be a Christmas movie,
it has to have multiple references to the birth of Jesus,
or
multiple ho 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 / Santas, multiple Santas.
Okay, so
at least one.
Let me push back on that statement.
Okay,
is A Christmas Carol a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Are there multiple references to the birth of Jesus and or multiple references to ho ho hos?
No, but there are multiple references to Christmas.
Right. So I think that's too limited of a definition that he's giving.
Isn't that the birth of Jesus? By saying Christmas.
Well, then I feel like.
So Die Hard would or wouldn't. Well, they only really have one reference.
How often do they say the word Christmas in Die Hard? If it's more than two, then that's multiple, and therefore it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
By this definition. All that to say, I think that definition is potentially limited.
Okay.
I would almost then consider that a majority of the theming of the movie surrounds Christmas and Christmas type activities.
Okay, so then Christmas
one
Carol.
quick reference to Christmas, no. The whole thing's around Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, like a Christmas Carol is, sure.
Okay.
That works. If Christmas is literally in the title, that would probably make sense.
I saw somebody on Twitter. Actually, I think I saw this on TikTok from Twitter, however. And they said, the thing is, Die Hard wasn't a Christmas movie originally. The script was changed by Constantine in 336 to align it with the Sol Invictus Festival. And that made me laugh.
That's goofy.
That was goofy. I liked it. All right. So what, Matt, for you are some of the big Christmas traditions?
Traditions.
Yeah, let's go back to a few more of these traditions.
Okay.
Because I got to share mine.
Yeah. That's good.
What are yours?
Melinda makes cinnamon rolls every Christmas morning, which is great. Love that.
Like from scratch or from Pillsbury?
Scratchy.
Wow.
Yeah. Usually preps them the night before. And then makes them on the day.
That takes a while, so that makes sense.
Scratchy. Wiki. We also will wait to do anything until we're all down and together. We won't do as soon as you're up, you can do your stocking. We do it all together. We don't take turns because I think I was somewhere where we did that once and I hated it. I was like, stop looking at me. Let me enjoy my gift, because then if I don't like it, I have to put it on the show right away. I don't have an extra time to think about it, you know?
Okay.
Though as a father, I'll sit and watch all four kids open theirs at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's not like, okay, it's my turn. Everyone watch me open this gift.
Oh,
no one touch your stuff until I'm done.
Yep.
Okay, now it's your turn. You open your.
Yeah, that's kind of how we do it. That's how we do it.
That would take. We have to.
And one of the kids will usually go through and start sorting them into piles for everybody that way. And
we'll do that. We'll have.
Do you keep a big trash bag right there and throw your trash away as you unwrap, or do you just go back afterwards and do it all?
I try to. I'll try and clean up as they're going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, so I grew up, and we're different now, but I grew up where Christmas was always way over the top and there were way too many gifts under the tree.
Right.
They weren't necessarily you're getting the newest PlayStation, you're getting the newest VR, you're getting the newest all this all together. You're just getting a bunch of smaller things. But there's just way too many boxes and way too many gifts and way too much trash. And as a kid, I always remember being super careful when we were all done, going through all the trash to make sure I didn't accidentally leave something behind. Because I think I remember one time I couldn't find one of my gifts after we were all done that I remembered. I was like, I remember opening this. Where is it? So we also, growing up, when we went to my grandma's house, inevitably there was always a wrapping paper fight. Right, we would ball it up and snowball fight with wrapping paper.
Yeah.
We'd ball it up and start chucking it at each other, which is super fun. And I remember one year my mom had just had knee surgery because we went skiing and she dislocated her knee from it or whatever. So she's sitting in her wheelchair with her leg extended, can't move, can't defend herself, and we all ganged up on her and it was awesome.
Oh, I was expecting it to go a lot worse of somebody tripped over her.
No. She was in a good spot.
Terrible.
But she couldn't get down and wad him up and fight back. She had to actually catch one to throw it back. So it was awesome.
Okay. So then after Christmas morning, what are the Christmas Day traditions that you would go into
As a kid?
now?
Now.
Yeah, or both, whatever.
So it's been interesting on years where we don't travel, which is most years because Christmas Eve is a big work day for us typically. We'll do our stuff in the morning and then just hang out the rest of the day. Usually our Christmas dinner is steak related, like filet mignon, like a nicer steak.
That's awesome.
Whereas growing up, it was turkey and ham, both, which I always thought was awesome.
That is also cool.
But this year is going to be a little different because Grandma and Grandpa recently moved an hour away from us. So we're actually going to go up to their house Christmas afternoon and have that big Christmas dinner with them. Yeah. So that'll be good. Maybe start some new traditions now, 20 years into marriage.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. For us, because there's just always family, the extended family part, we try to, balance it out as much as possible to be like, all right, this year we'll go here, this year we'll go here. And we trade off for all the major holidays, right? So last year for Christmas, we went to Lex's mom's house. And so this year it'll be over to my sister's house.
Okay.
So it's like, it would almost be nice if, like the way I did it when we were a kid, all the extended family, everybody in the area just combined.
Yeah.
And so it was like when I was a kid, Easter was always at my grandma's house and all of the siblings, cousins, in-laws, everybody went to my grandma's
Didn't matter
house.
like what side you were
Right.
on.
And then same thing, Thanksgiving was always at my aunt and uncle's house in the Springs. And that's where it was. And then Christmas was always at our house. And so everybody would come over there. And so it was tons of people every time. And so it's a little bit chaotic, but it's like trying to manage, extended family stuff for it is, I think, where a lot of people start getting that holiday stress in when you've got different families like pulling at you, which is, I really like Mark Driscoll talks about this. And I like what he has to say. It's like, ultimately you and your spouse are your new family.
Right.
And that's your first priority.
Yep.
And extended family really does need to be okay with you deciding what you want to do and not be offended by it. And he'll be like, like for our kids, they're married now. And I'll say, hey, you can come for Christmas. And sometimes they'll be like, great. And sometimes they'll be like, no, we're going to do something else with our family this year. And no matter what, he's like, great, have fun.
Yeah. His response has to be okay with that.
It's like, that's great.
They're their own. Yep.
Right.
I like that.
And so it's like, would we ever take an option where on one Christmas we just went somewhere, did something, went up to a cabin or do something? I'd be okay with that. And I would hope that our extended families on every side would be as well.
Right.
And I think they would be. I think, if we said, look, this is what we're going to do for our family this year. Yeah. I think they'd be okay with it. But so it's always, in the afternoon going over to somebody's house where there's conglomerations of people.
Sweet.
Sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. And the bigger is fine, but I don't know, when it's like on my extended side of the family, because I have 4 siblings and then there's always their kids and always like, it's usually just like 50 people and it's just chaos. And so the one thing that I'm happy about now is all of my kids are big enough that they don't need supervision. Like when they were really little, it was like they're trying to squirm away and I'm trying to talk to somebody and it's like, I've got to make sure I know where my kids are at all times. Now that they're all big enough and Asa's big enough and, we're a few years at this point where I can be like, you are fine to just go. I don't have to even think or worry. That makes it a little bit easier.
Sweet.
Yeah. So Christmas traditions, super fun. What other Christmas memories or exciting fun things do you think about when it comes to like, what was the best Christmas ever?
Best Christmas ever. That's a good question. I don't know if I have like one that stands out as best ever, but several different memories. So I mentioned the one of the wrapping paper snowball fight with my mom in a wheelchair. That one stands out as at least a big memory I have. I think lately a lot of it has just been sitting and enjoying watching my children.
Okay.
Right? Like I'm old now. And so right, I get my joy from just sitting and watching other people's joy and happiness. And so that's always fun. There's been a few times where we've been able to get all of Melinda's side of the family together because she has 2 siblings. They all are married with a bunch of kids. And so having that big group of cousins, but not the extended cousins together for some of those Christmases where we were able to do that. Those were really fun. Just because it was big enough to be a lot going on, but small enough to still be like meaningful. Not that the gatherings of 50 aren't meaningful, but those are almost just chaos.
Yep.
Right. There's just so much going on and so much noise. And so those are good. Yeah.
I like it. When I think about like, not Christmas Day, but I have a very great Christmas Eve memory because that's when I proposed to my wife.
For you, Christmas Eve, I have a good one too. When I proposed to my wife.
Wait, you did on Christmas Eve?
We've talked about this.
I don't remember having this conversation.
Yeah. Where did you honeymoon?
Disney World.
Where did I honeymoon?
Disney World.
Yeah, we have had this conversation.
I knew that part, but I didn't know you proposed on Christmas Eve. Now you didn't. So the way I did it was more spectacle and in front of a lot of people.
Okay.
I proposed here at Discovery.
Okay.
During the Christmas Eve service at the end of it, I had Pastor Rick came up and he said, we've got one more thing, a little bit out of our ordinary for how we do on a Christmas Eve service. And then I had built a custom slideshow that had like music and it was like kind of like a fairy tale story of like pictures of Lex when she was a kid and me and like our whole story of meeting. And it ended up with then, he only had one more question to ask her and I was there and I proposed.
Nice.
In front of the church.
So question, by that point, did Alexis know, like with the slideshow starting,
how quickly did she know
that, okay, this is about to happen immediately? Yeah.
It was, as soon as you saw the picture of you as a kid.
I was so embarrassed, but I was like I knew it was happening, so I was excited, but I was also really embarrassed.
She knew it was happening. She was embarrassed. She was excited. I'm just repeating. She's in the room, but she's not mic'd. So if you're trying to listen, she said she was excited, embarrassed. She knew it was happening, but it was So
fun. You proposed at church.
Yeah.
Okay. So my Christmas Eve proposal.
Yeah.
Because that is, if we're not doing Christmas Day, that is the biggest Christmas related memory I have.
Okay.
So we went to Disneyland on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And I told Melinda, hey, we should take pictures because we don't have a whole bunch of pictures of just the 2 of us. So we brought a camera with us and had pictures. And I remember the exact outfit I had on and the jacket I was wearing and where I had the ring. And all day long, like the whole time, I kept moving myself to the other side of Melinda so she didn't accidentally lean into or bump into the ring in my pocket because I didn't want her to know it was going to happen. Right. So, so we were taking pictures all throughout the night. And then one of the pictures, I grabbed the cast member and said, hey, can you take our picture? Said that kind of loudly and then whispered in his ear real fast, I'm about to propose. Wait till I'm on my knee. Nice. And so, I got on my knee, proposed. And I think her response was either, are you serious or are you kidding me? And then yes, like, are you kidding me? Yes. And nice. Then, so continued to do Disney, had our dinner there, and then went to church because the church I was at, working out in California, we had like 4 Christmas Eve services and one of them was 11 p.m. So it led to Christmas Day. It ended at midnight.
That's kind of fun.
So we went straight there because that's the service that all of our friends, everyone our age would go to. And then had the big ordeal of everyone noticing the rock on her finger. Yep.
How fun.
So yeah, super fun.
On a side note, unrelated to Christmas or Christmas Eve, how often do you think it is that a proposal gets rejected? Like, I don't know about you. I wouldn't, I was pretty confident and there was not like a lot of like, oh, is she going to say no? Like I was nervous to do it, but I didn't really have a serious expectation that she would have said no. How often does somebody, do you think, propose really not knowing and gets shut down? What percentage of the time?
I see those videos all the time, but that's because like those are the ones that go viral because everyone likes to see the tragedy happen. My guess would be more yeses than nos of serious proposals. Right? There's going to be the I'm drunk at a bar. Will you marry me?
Right.
No. And then I throw my drink in your face and then you walk away sad.
So...
But this... well, it's Christmas movie season, all the rom-coms.
And I think that there's actually, it's kind of funny. You say those are the ones that we like to see, and we like to see the misery of somebody getting their heart shattered.
That's so sad.
It's the Germans have a term for that. I'm sure we've talked about this before. If not, I'll let you know. It's called Schadenfreude, which is taking pleasure in other people's pain.
Yeah.
They actually have a term for that. So Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Of course it's German.
Of course it's German. That's really funny. Yeah, that's exciting.
But are there a lot of Christmas? So you said Christmas movies. I realized that last email about what makes a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
There was a second email that said one additional qualification that I think goes with that. Which is there should be a miraculous, in quotes, request that is granted to make it a Christmas movie. So that, yeah, It's a Wonderful Life counts. So the Santa Claus miraculous request is like his dad becomes Santa and he wants people to believe him, and the Grinch, the miraculous request is what? That his heart grows?
His heart grows, yeah.
Jingle All the Way. It's not miraculous to get a Turbo Man doll. But the dad, Schwarzenegger, does become Turbo Man.
I mean, I guess any movie with Santa Claus,
right?
But what if you have because Santa's, did his magic.
Love Actually.
Love Actually.
Is that a Christmas movie? Because
I believe it's classified as a Christmas movie.
But there's no miraculous request
I've
granted.
never seen it.
It's
Love is
great.
miraculous. How about White Christmas?
I've never seen it.
I mean, it snows and that's the miracle, right?
Is that? I don't know. I've
You've
never
seen
White Christmas.
Either the movie or the stage production? Bruh.
Okay. A Christmas Story.
I would put that in one of my favorite classics.
A Christmas Story. Little Ralphie. He gets the Red Ryder BB gun, but there's nothing miraculous.
The miracle is he didn't shoot his eye out. Or is the miracle the leg lamp?
I mean, no,
that's a miracle.
See, that's not a miracle. Those are all natural occurring events. So I don't know if I would agree.
Says you.
The parents chugging wine.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd agree with it.
I don't know if I'd agree with it. That there has for it to be a Christmas movie does not have to have a miraculous.
This is the same person with both these emails?
Yes.
So maybe these are all things that would, if it had this, then it could be a Christmas. If it had this, not it has to, but it's something that just makes it easier to be a Christmas movie.
I don't know. I would just say to be a Christmas movie, Christmas has to be a plot point.
Yep.
That's the easiest way to do it. So Christmas Carol gets put in.
Yeah.
And by that definition, then Die Hard would probably be excluded because Christmas is not a plot point. It just happens to be at Christmas.
Right. So then I don't know if you watch this, the Hawkeye series, the Marvel series.
I started it, but
Plus,
I didn't finish it.
It fully takes place around Christmas time.
But does
in New
Christmas
York
factor in any way?
I mean, there's Christmas gifts. He's trying to make it home on Christmas Day, but the plot is, finishing off the crime boss.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's a Christmas show. Okay. It's just Christmas adjacent. So let me give you another example. Last night, we were like, let's watch, like I said, let's put on an episode of Friends. It's a Christmas episode because we like watching Friends. After Thanksgiving, we went and actually with our kids, we let them watch a couple episodes that were all Thanksgiving episodes because that Thanksgiving episodes
with the turkey on the head?
Right.
And the sunglasses?
Exactly.
I have those socks.
That's awesome. Thanksgiving episodes are a very prominent thing in Friends.
Yeah.
But I was like, are there prominent Christmas episodes? And so, for instance, we watched one, and from the thumbnail, it's like nothing titled was Christmas, but there's a Christmas tree in the background on the episode. It's like the one where Monica makes candy for everybody. It takes
Christmas candy.
It takes place at Christmas, but Christmas does not feature as a plot point of that episode.
Okay.
So I would say that that's not a Christmas episode.
So there's 3 categories of movies then is what I'm hearing. Okay. Category 1, a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Category 2, a Christmas adjacent movie.
Yep.
Category 3,
everything else.
A movie.
Yes.
Okay.
So
there you have it, folks.
that's the definitive classification that Die Hard is Christmas adjacent.
Yeah. So last week we talked about some Christmas movies you have to watch every year. We did that real quick.
Yeah.
I think there's some and I just mentioned White Christmas. Lex said It's a Wonderful Life, and I think I would put Miracle on 34th Street.
I've never seen that one either.
Classic Christmas movies that I really enjoy. I don't necessarily have to watch any Christmas movie every single year, but those are 3 classics that I really like.
I've never seen Miracle on 34th Street either.
White Christmas is a musical, so if you don't like musicals, you're not going to like it.
I love musicals.
I'm looking at you.
No, all right. I took her to see Wicked, and she loved it.
Unlimited.
Wicked is great. It was Wicked a Christmas
Together
movie?
we're
Not at all.
Unlimited. So that brought us back to, I think we mentioned it last week, Harry Potter then is Christmas adjacent.
Yeah, because Christmas is an event.
Because the Christmas
But it's not
time
a
is every year, but it's not the plot point.
It's not a plot point.
Okay.
Edward Scissorhands, Christmas adjacent. It's around Christmas, but Christmas is not factored into the plot.
Right. All right. I'm here for
Are
it.
there any other ones where we have where does it land?
I don't.
The Nativity Story. Where is it? It's Christmas adjacent. No, it's Christmas movie.
Yeah. No, I think the rest kind of makes sense.
Now, here's a question. Netflix has a new Mary movie. That's Christmas. It's a Christmas Mary.
Right. I haven't seen it yet.
But I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I was going to see if anybody
Maybe I'll
had seen
watch it.
it's
If I
good.
watch it by next week, maybe I can mention my thoughts on it if I get to it. But by our new definition we've just created,
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie because its
Because
plot
Christmas-
is centered more around Christmas than Halloween.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
It begins with a little bit of Halloween. It ends with a little bit of Halloween. The rest is Christmas.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
It's a Christmas movie.
Wow.
Christmas is in the title. I don't think
Yeah,
you could.
I know. I call that one more a holiday movie because
Right, but it's still.
it covers a big spectrum. It also has the little, like the trees. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's primarily
But it's primarily focused
is
on Christmas.
Christmas. The Grinch, obviously, a Christmas movie. All three of them.
Beauty and the Beast, Enchanted Christmas.
Enchanted Christmas.
So good, you
yes.
guys.
But regular
good.
Beauty and the Beast, no. It's not even Christmas adjacent.
No, it's not. No. It is winter.
Winter
Always
is
winter,
not
but never Christmas.
Winter is not
as,
synonymous with Christmas.
Is Narnia a Christmas movie?
No, it's Christmas adjacent because Father
Santa's literally
Christmas
in it.
comes to it, but that's not the.
Okay, hold on. How many times does Father... We're just Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. Let's talk about that one.
Okay.
We hear always winter, never Christmas. There's one reference.
Yep.
Father Christmas shows up on his
And gives them
sleigh
gifts.
with reindeer and gives gifts. There's a second one.
Okay.
Is there a third reference to Christmas specifically?
I don't think
If
so.
not, then it's Christmas adjacent.
I would call it Christmas
It just
adjacent because
happens
it's
to have
primarily about.
Santa Claus in it. Right. It's primarily about the witch
Right.
and Aslan in that.
Right.
battle between
Okay.
good
So
and evil.
okay, what was that animated movie? It was called like. It wasn't the Guardians of the Galaxy. It wasn't the Guardians of Gahul.
It was the Guardians.
Was it just the Guardians?
That had all the different.
And it had like Easter Bunny and Santa.
No,
and
the
all
Guardians
them.
was the Owls one.
That's our Guardians of Gahul.
Okay, then it's just the Guardians. I know what you're talking about, I think.
And I think that one a Christmas movie because Santa's in it. No, yeah, I've seen people do like the fake series where it's like the Guardians of Gahul, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like this series makes no sense, but they're just different movies. Are you looking up the Guardians? Rise of the Guardians.
That's the
okay.
one.
There it was. Oh yeah, I was gonna say something. Okay, is that a Christmas movie? I've never seen it.
I don't think I've seen it either. I think
Santa's in
my
it.
family maybe has. Reddit says, I think it's just an all-around seasonal movie.
Okay,
It takes place during the winter Christmas, but that's not necessarily the plot point.
Okay,
Again, I haven't seen it though, so I can't say it. That's just some random dude on Reddit.
it's like Gremlins. Isn't that like Christmas adjacent?
Wow, that's a throwback. I haven't seen that, I think, since I was a kid, and I was
creepy.
creeped out by it, but I wanted the dolls.
Yeah.
Like I had a little
doesn't
gremlin
want a
doll
little
thing.
gremlin?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I
an
think
article
we've- okay.
on CBR, which is
Christian Broadcast Radio.
comic book resources. What's CBR? I forget. Rise of the Guardians is the perfect underrated classic to watch this Christmas.
Home Alone and Home Alone 2 are all Christmas movies, right? Because
The plot is a Christmas travel and Christmas
travel,
robberies,
Christmas
and-
plans, Christmas
Okay.
robberies, Christmas Day.
I'm willing to
being-
call the Home Alone's Christmas because
Yeah.
we watch those are typically
at least the
on
first
our
and
TV
second
every
one
year.
is. I
Yeah.
don't know if the third one is.
How about the? Isn't there a fourth?
There's like 5 or 6.
Oh, gross.
They rebooted it on Disney Plus with a female robber, Ellie Kemper,
Like
who is from The Office.
rebooted as in its exact same plot.
No, sorry. It's I guess not reboot. They made a new one where
That's fair. They're all the same.
this
plot.
one takes place in the same town because it's a weird, like, I haven't seen it, but I've seen parts of it. And there's a weird moment where I want to say Buzz, his older brother in the first movie, right? Buzz McAllister.
Yeah, Buzz.
I think his name is
Yep.
Buzz.
His name's Buzz.
Is a cop, Officer McAllister. He's still himself. He's still Buzz McAllister. Is in this most recent Disney
it's not a reboot. It's
not
a
reboot,
It's
sequel.
another sequel.
but it has no other connections to the original,
Right.
other than a same one character. Now, I think they should have one where Kevin is an adult. They should get Macaulay Culkin back and have him forget his kid or something.
Here's the problem. What kind of mother or father or uncles or aunts or anyone would let this happen more than once? To let it happen once is like, okay,
The circumstances of it.
I don't like it, but sure. But a second time is a
Here's-
little bit confusing. Like, at what point do
here's
you
my-
put a leash on your child?
Here's my I said this year when we were watching it, and Lex looked at me like I was crazy, and I said the way that I said there is a supernatural element that makes him get left home alone.
So it's a
from
miracle.
his wish.
Christmas movie.
Right? He wants to be alone. And she says, say it again. Maybe it'll come true.
Right.
And then the music gets creepy and it does a fast zoom in on the Santa as the wind starts blowing really fast. I will argue that there is a supernatural element causing the wind, power outage, and everything
Demonic,
to orchestrate the events of the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I think we've solved everything then. So this episode is a little more lighthearted. This is a little less serious stuff, but it is fun as we celebrate. It's kind of funny as we celebrate Jesus and we celebrate the reason for the season, as we always said. It's
So-
like thinking back over just silly things.
I
but
have one
it's-
more question for you
it's
before we
so
wrap this up.
fun. Yes.
And we don't have to get into why these exist. But
Easter eggs?
What are some Christmas traditions that are just weird? You might do them, but just weird Christmas traditions that stand out to you. Is like, and again, we're not going to get into the history of them and where they came from, but what are some of those weird
For a
ones?
long time, we would, and we still do, it's hit or miss if we will be there. But every Christmas Eve, we go to a Chinese restaurant for dinner.
Okay. That's a weird one.
That-
Well,
it's
in
a little-
Japan, KFC is like the Christmas tradition, right?
KFC did some sort of brilliant marketing
Yeah.
and convinced the Japanese population that Americans are obsessed with KFC as a Christmas meal. And
brilliant.
so now they're all like, sweet, we want to be like the cool Americans, and we're going to get our special Christmas meal from KFC.
Yeah.
Like, look it up. Look up what the Japanese KFC Christmas. Just type that into Google.
When you just
It's
look
awesome.
at the surface of things, right? Again, not getting into the rhyme and reason of these traditions, hanging socks by your fireplace to stuff with gifts. That's a little bit weird. Bringing in a dead tree and decorating it with, glass balls. That's kind of weird when you just look at things on the surface.
Yeah.
Now you get into where the traditions came from. Some of them make a little more sense. A fruitcake. Whose
Doesn't make
brilliant
any
idea
sense.
was let's
They're-
give fruitcakes on Christmas? Because does anyone actually like fruitcake?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think there's a person alive who actually likes fruitcake.
And yeah, real candles in
real
the trees
candles on
and
your
the fires.
tree. That would be
okay.
scary.
And then I think the other one that I always just kind of question is Yule log.
Yeah, and I think we talked about
We
this
talked
on
about
our
it in our
Christ myth.
Uh-huh.
It was called Christ
Myths.
myths. Myths. I don't have a lisp. I'm saying myths about Christmas. Excuse me. Where the Yule log came from and all that.
Well,
it is and that's never been a thing
It's
that
never
we've
been a
like
thing.
done.
Right, because that was actually a literal log that was burned.
Burned.
But now we create this dessert called a Yule log.
Right. That's what we talked about.
Because why burn firewood when we can
Burn cake.
eat something that looks like firewood? I don't know. It's weird.
That is a weird one.
Weird traditions.
I mean, putting lights on your house.
Yeah.
It's weird if you don't have my throat just gurgled. I'm sorry if that came through. That's weird if you don't have like a reason behind it. It's like, we're going to put lights on our house right now and then take them back down. Although this year I've installed the semi-permanent lights.
Yeah, you did.
I'm going to be turning on lights during every major holiday.
That's right. Make
And
them
actually,
pink for Valentine's Day.
I'll say this because you can turn on specific strands only with the app.
Yep.
And so I put them all over our front porch, which is, even with the light on, pretty dark. So I'm thinking I might set it on evenings to just turn
use them
on
as like security lighting.
security lighting.
I love it.
Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. We hope you have a great Christmas. And next year, we'll be back with kind of a year in review. We're going to kind of recap some of the big ups and downs of our past year on the podcast and things that have happened as we wrap up 2024, and then we'll be going into 2025 with an exciting schedule of episodes, guests, and fun times. But as always, thank you so much for joining us for this hour. And if you have not already made plans to attend church on Christmas Eve, if you're here in town, obviously come visit us at Discovery. But wherever you are, wherever you're listening, find a church and invite somebody. Go spend some time with Jesus on Christmas Eve. And we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.